Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello everyone. Ayan, so naririnig na ang tinig ng ating mga bisita at talagang Easter na. So batian naman tayo dyan. Hello, hello. Let us praise the Lord. Ayan. So mag-hello sa atin ng ating mga kasabayan na iinom. Walang iba kundi si Msgr Bert Espenilla. Hi, Monsi.
Hi. Happy Easter to everybody.
At
narinig ba ako?
Yes po, maliwanag na maliwanag. So hindi halata na tayong ay galing sa siesta. So gayon din, babatiin din natin ang medyo bata-bata. Ito po hindi po to senior, pero siya ay tagapag-alaga ng mga senior. Wala pong iba kung hindi si Nurse Erwin. Hi, Erwin.
Erwin.
Good po sa ating lahat, sa mga senior. Good afternoon.
Ayan, so sabay-sabay tayo ngayong iinom ng ating mainit na tsaa o mainit na kape. Ang sarap. Ayan. So welcome po. Welcome to our program. Ang 20% programang Puno ng Puso para sa mga seniors at para sa ating lahat. At kita niyo naman, maliwanag na maliwanag, no? Dito ngayon sa isang matindi at mainit na hapon kasi ang ating pag-uusapan for the whole month of May, nagsisimula pa lang po tayo. Welcome to our first Monday of May. So alam ko kayo ay nagsipag-celebrate ng kapistahan ni San Jose. Kaya nga ang bisita natin, si Monsi. Alam po ninyo sa ating mga taga-subaybay, si Msgr Roberto Espenilla, ang siyang parish priest po ng St. John the Worker Parish dito po sa Palanan, Makati. Siyempre po, no, ang mga parokya ng San Jose ay all over the Philippines at mismo sa Archdiocese of Manila, marami po yan. Pero hindi lang po yun ang kanyang pinagkakaabalahan. Si Msgr din po ang pinaka-archdiocesan na leader o minister ng Cursillos in Christianity. Tama po ba, Msgr? Batiin mo naman ang mga kursilista natin.
Tama ho. Happy Easter sa lahat ng mga kursilista sa Archdiocese sa Manila, lalo na ang ating mga leaders sa bawat vicariate. Because nag-aan aming organization, sa meeting namin, bawat vicariate ay represented by one cursillo leader. And of course, I'm happy na we continue to be alive even in the pandemic period.
Amen. At hindi lang continues to be alive, kung hindi, patuloy pa rin si Monsi kahit senior citizen na, ay talagang go pa rin. So Msgr, ang gusto kong malaman, ilang taon ka na po sa pagpapari mo?
Sa pagkapare, last December 21, ako po ay 50, kalimutan ko na tuloy.
Ano?
50 plus already.
Senior moment yan, Msgr, no? Kaya maliwanag na senior na talaga. Pero ikagugulat po, Msgr, na ating mga viewers. Ako, alam ko, ang iyong anniversary bilang pare, ito ay December 21, 1965. Ibig sabihin, this year, ikaw po ay 57 years na pare.
That's right.
Ano naman?
Yeah. Thank you.
Kaya sisigaw tayong lahat. Praise the Lord! Ayan. So, Msgr, yan ang unang question ko kaagad sa iyo. Ano ba ang mga bago mabura sa iyong alaala? Ano yung mga matitinding alaala mo sa loob ng 57 years of your priesthood?
Una, actually, nung first year ko, I was more in a special ministry. And maybe if you do not know yet, I do not belong to the Archdiocese of Manila in the beginning.
Oh.
I belong to the Diocese of Sorsogon. But then I became a teacher there, at the same time, secretary of the bishop. No? And I was therefore staying in the seminary there. Then after 3 years, I came to Manila when I got sick with my tuberculosis. to recover, and at the same time, I had my medical checkup, and we found out that I'm also allergic with so many things. So I decided to stay in Manila for the medication of my allergies, and I used to go regularly to Manila Medical Center there in the United Nations Avenue, no? And then, of course, while I'm here, my bishop told me that they wanted me to become the chaplain of the national chaplain of the Young Christian Workers. So I became national chaplain of the workers in 1970, Young Christian Workers, and that is the group that was founded by Cardinal Cardine. And it is an attempt to make the young people realize that even their work is also an apostolate, and at the same time to make God the center of their lives. And then in 1972, I was approached by Bishop, I forgot his name now, but at the time he was Bishop of Isabela. He asked me that they would like that I become at the same time national chaplain of the Student Catholic Action, because the national chaplain became bishop, and that is he became the secretary of the CBCP. So since I was not very sure yet whether I have trained people for leadership, enough people rather for leadership in Young Christian Workers, and I asked if I could be both chaplain of the Student Catholic Action of the Young Christian Workers for 1 year, so that I can prepare whichever group I would like to work on. And when after 1 year I saw there were enough leaders in Young Christian Workers, then I became the national chaplain of the Student Catholic Action at the same time. Not only acting, but also regular national chaplain in the Student Catholic Action. So I was able to go around the country to visit, because that was part of my job to really do it, especially during the time of martial law. So I changed a bit the name of SCA. I made it SCAP to make it look nationalistic by saying Student Catholic Action of the Philippines. And we put also some ideas of national in our group. So that's why I went around in order to establish it that way. Then, of course, in 1973, Bishop Paulino approached me, and he asked me if it's okay that I will stay in Manila and become part of the Archdiocese of Manila. And I said, how can I do that? I will need the consent of my bishop in Sorsogon. And Bishop Paulino said, don't worry, we will be the one to send a letter to the Bishop of Sorsogon, that time Bishop Arcilia. No? And then after a couple of the first answer, the bishop did not like to release me from Sorsogon. But then Bishop Paulino told me they will write again, and in the second letter, he acceded the request that I be excardinated from Sorsogon and be incardinated in Manila. And unfortunately, by that time, Cardinal Santos, who was the Archbishop of Manila at that time, because Bishop Paulino was only the auxiliary bishop, was already in the hospital, seriously sick. So Bishop Paulino told me, Bert, you have to wait for the condition of the cardinal to improve. Of course, as you know, he died in that year, 1973, in September, if I'm not mistaken. So he told me just wait for the next Archbishop of Manila. But we have already the consent of the Bishop of Sorsogon. So when Cardinal Sin came, I told him I have this one. And then he said, okay, wait for me first to be installed. So he was installed in March. By April, I think, or May, he already accepted by and incarnated me in Manila. At the same time, confirmed my position as National Chaplain of the Student Catholic Action. At the same time, Chaplain of the Student Catholic Action in Manila, in the private schools of Manila, not in the public schools of Manila.
So, Monsignor, ibig sabihin, sa napakahabang 57 years, talagang tandang-tanda mo pa yung mga first couple of years, no? Yung parang unang dekada ng iyong ministeryo. Kasi ibig sabihin, talagang ang binabaybay natin ay 6 na dekada halos. Tama po ba, Monsignor? Monsignor, napakaganda ng iyong memory, ha? Para kang computer na merong memory bank. So palagay ko kahit nagkakaedad ang isang tao, pero yung mga highlights ng kanyang alaala ay nandyan pa rin. Kaya maliwanag na maliwanag kay Monsignor Bert ang kanyang pagsisimula sa kanyang ministeryo hanggang sa umabot siya dito sa paglilingkod sa Archdiocese of Manila. At syempre, utang na loob din niya sa Sorsogon dahil doon siya nagsimula. Pero hanggang ngayon, si Monsignor ay ating kapiling sa Archdiocese of Manila. Sa ating mga taga-subaybay, ngayong Mayo, tayo ay nagbabalik tanaw sa mga alaalang ito. Bakit? Kasi itong buwan na ito, ating binubuo ang mga alaala at alala ng puso. So yung pangalawang word, alala, pwede rin siyang alala. Kaya yan ang mga maririnig natin sa ating mga bisita. At ngayon sa ating pagpapatuloy kay Monsignor Bert, hindi lang yung mga highlights ng kanyang priesthood. Siyempre, Monsignor, gusto rin namin malaman ngayon, yung pangkasalukuyan. May malaki bang pagkakaiba yung panahon na ikaw ay napakalakas pa? No? Tuloy-tuloy yung mga assignments mo, iba-ibang organization na naging assignment mo, maraming mga parokya, nagiging vicar foreign ka pa. Pangkasalukuyan, may mga challenges ka bang kinakaharap na kasama ng aging?
Okay. By the way, just so, in 1981, Cardinal Sin told Bishop Paulino to tell me that he wanted me to become parish priest because I have been long in organizations and special ministers. And so he had an instruction with Bishop Paulino that the first parish that will be vacant, I'll be the parish priest. And so I City. It's my first parish, St. Joseph the Worker. And then, of course, I went to other parishes. And then, when there was a time I went to Rome to be able to refresh my theology. At the same time, I think it was my 25th anniversary as priest. And I decided to have some kind of a renewal course. So I went on sabbatical year for one sabbatical year. That year, at the same time, for 6 months, I was in Rome doing my refresher course in theology and pastoral work. Then when I came back, then I was assigned in Quiapo as assistant parish priest. And after a couple of months, I was then assigned to Muntinlupa, where I became parish priest. And from that time on, I have become parish priest in different places. And as you have mentioned, I became vicar foreign also in some of these vicariates. Okay. Now, of course, the challenge is sometimes we will have the challenge is how to be able to sustain ourselves. And I noticed now that there are times that you can forget things, And I asked my doctor, what can I do? And he said, you take this one, it is not a medicine, but it will be a help for your memory. And it is some kind of a special, I think the name is Stevonin, that I take so that my memory will not really fail so much that I will forget many things, So that has helped me. Now, in my present work, of course, when I reached 75, I asked Cardinal Tagle whether I am going to be already retired. And Cardinal Tagle told me, hey, Bert, strong. Sige pa. Ano? So that's why after, at the age of 75, he told me to continue until I was assigned here. I was by that time already assigned here in this parish of St. Joseph. That is when I was 75, before 75 years old. And so it so happened also during that time, Cardinal Tagle decided to have a definite term for parish priests and for other positions. And that is every 6 years is the term of parish priests. So we're supposed to already be reshuffled last year, which is the 6th year, because that happened in 2015. Cardinal that decision. So we are supposed to have already our reshuffling last year, but then when we asked Cardinal Advincula, then he said, well, I am new. Let me first know the place. Let me first know my priests. So he said, give me 6 months to 1 year before I make the reshuffling. So that is what we are all waiting for. So that is the present situation. No? So my challenge is at the same time, I am, as you said, the spiritual director or advisor of the Cursillo in the Archdiocese of Manila. And about 1 or 2 years ago, Archbishop the Archbishop of Davao that time was the president of the CBCP, and he also appointed me now as the national chaplain of the Cursillo movement. No, so I am holding 2 positions in the Cursillo, Archdiocesan and national. And for your information, and maybe for the information of those who are interested to join, we will have the 2nd National Priest Encounter to update the Cursillo in the Philippines to the present development of Cursillo in the whole world. That's why the international advisor, a certain Archbishop in Mexico, plus the president, I think, of that area, is coming here on June, to June 6 to 11 to be one of our speakers. Unfortunately, it so happened also that the custody of the family under which is the Cursillo classified, there is going to be a meeting every year towards the end of May, and then they will try to reconcile differences if there are in the different continents. So hopefully by the time they come, because they will be our speakers, then we'll have the latest development about the Cursillo. So this is the present situation of my life, waiting for my retirement, because I'm already more than the retirement age. At the same time, waiting also for the developments in the Cursillo. So, and I have asked Bishop Ambo, who is now the new president of the CBCP, in my appointment, there was no clear term. So he said, you just write us and we will see what we can do about it. But he said, we might still appoint you as the national advisor of the Cursillo movement. So that's the situation that I am waiting whatever is my, whatever the challenges that faces me at this age. Thank you, Dr. Against. Thank you, Erwin.
So congratulations, Monsignor Bert. Talagang may congratulatory note because you have been persevering all your 57 years as a priest. Kaya nakakatuwa ho kasi kahit beyond 75 si Monsignor, nagpapatuloy actively sa kanyang ministry. Kaya ang ating mga taga-subaybay, dapat active na active pa rin ho kayo. Kung ikaw ay lola, kung ikaw ay lolo, patuloy pa rin maging active kung ano yung iyong kinakaharapang kasalukuyan. Tignan niyo si Monsignor Senior talagang parang walang pahinga, no? Tuloy-tuloy pa rin kasi wala sa age, talagang nandun sa kanyang perseverance. Thank you, Msgr Bert Espenilla. At ngayon nabanggit din ni Msgr Bert na meron siyang iniinom na gamot na ibig sabihin pampa-enhance ng memory. Sa palagay ko ngayon naman magandang pag-usapan yung mga tao naman na kahit hindi pa senior pero nag-aalaga naman ng senior. Dadako naman tayo ngayon sa ating nurse, ang tagapag-alaga ng mga nagkakaedad at may mga karamdaman, si Nurse Erwin. Hi, Nurse Erwin.
Hi, good afternoon.
Ayan. So ngayon syempre, kailangan ko namang marinig. Kumusta ba ang iyong karanasan naman pag ang inaalagaan mo ay katulad nila Msgr Bert? Pero si Msgr Bert wala pang tagapag-alaga no? Kumusta ba, Erwin?
So far, okay naman. May mga challenges like yung makukulit, ganyan.
Talagang yun ang unang word mo, makukulit. So, ibig sabihin, tayong lahat na nagkakaedad, talagang kasama dyan yung nagiging makulit. Kasi nagiging paulit-ulit kami dahil nakakalimot kami. Erwin, ganun ba ang karanasan mo pagka matanda ang iyong alaga?
Yes po.
Binangarap mo ba talagang maging tagapag-alaga na matatanda? Ano ba yung naging pangarap mo nung bata ka?
I have a great, to tell briefly about my childhood, I have a great memories of my childhood. I was very active and I always wanted to play outdoors. I love sports. I love basketball. And every Sunday we make it sure to hear a mass and eat with my family. Then my parents always are very hands-on in making to promote our independence and development. Siguro yung continuous process and discovery ko, yung course ko na to take up nursing. Before I enrolled in nursing, criminology, HRF, and then after a month, I finally decided to take up nursing. Because my father was a retired colonel, he wanted me to pursue as a police officer. So that's why I enrolled at the same time as a criminology student. At the same time, I was also enrolled as a nursing student in St. Scholastica in Tacloban. And then my father always told me that isang beses lang siya magpapaaral. So kung hindi kaya ng genes mo na mag-aral ng ganyang course, might as well took up commerce or criminology. So I overcome it because my ate was also a nurse, so I took up nursing.
So talagang kakaiba naman yung buhay mo magkalayo yung criminology at saka yung nursing.
Yes po.
Yung criminology, laging may biktima yun, di ba? Yung nursing, siya yung mag-aalaga ng biktima. Anyway, so nung ikaw ay naging nurse, wala ka bang pagdududa o pagsisisi man lang na naku, sana criminology na lang itinuloy ko at hindi na nursing?
During the time na I was working in the hospital for 4 years, I finally took taking care of sick and ill patients, and then I finally find my passion in caring the sick and the healthy individual.
Ayan. So talagang nandun na yung buhay mo sa pag-aalaga ng mga nanghihina. So hindi ko sasabihin laging may karamdaman. Minsan kasi wala pa naman sakit pero nanghihina na pero kailangan na ng assistance. So Erwin, masasabi mo ba na yung iyong pag-aalaga, yung pagiging nurse mo, ito ba ay isang propesyon na magpapayaman sa'yo o ito ay isang misyon na magpapalago ng iyong pananampalataya?
Before, siguro naman, I took it as a profession kasi gusto ko magkaroon ng income, ganyan. Pero through the years, it finally naging passion ko na mag-alaala ng may sakit. And before I planned to go abroad to London, I took out the IELTS already. I passed it 7.5, and then I applied for private duty nursing, and then I started to love taking care of sick adults. Before I wanted to take care of my mother, but due to that I have a work, I was not able to take care of my mother.
So Erwin, paano ka naman napunta sa pag-aalaga ng mga alagad ng simbahan o alagad ni Kristo?
I had a classmate who was working as a caregiver in Baclaran, who is taking care of a sick priest, and then I applied also to take care, and then I was assigned here in Bahay Pari.
Ayun. So, parang double na yung iyong misyon. Hindi ka lang basta nurse na nag-aalaga ng mga may karamdaman at mga nanghihina. Tapos ngayon, inaalagaan mo pa ang mga nag-aalaga sa kaluluwa ng tao. So, babalik ako ngayon kay Msgr. Msgr, hello.
Hello.
Ayan, so napapakinggan mo ang kwentong buhay ng ating mga tagapag-alaga dito sa Archdiocese of Manila. Ang nurse sa Bahay Pari, ibig sabihin, pinangangalagaan niya yung mga pari. So, Msgr, pag dumating ba yung araw na ikaw ay magre-retire na o magkakaroon ng karamdaman, are you entertaining in your mind na ikaw man ay aalagaan din ng mga katulad ni Nurse Erwin?
Yes, of course. Pero I had made a suggestion to the Cardinal once we reach the age of retirement, no? And hindi ba ang usual is at 75 years old, no? Sabi ko, pag malakas pa naman ang pare, kaya ay hindi pa na masakitin, no? Hindi ba pwede, sabi ko, no, wag mong ilagay sa welcome house o sa bahay pare para wala na siyang ginagawa kundi kumain, magbasa, matulog, magdasal, no? Sabi ko siya, kung naging very busy yung pare during his life as a pastor, parang maninibago siya. Kaya sinuggest ko kay Colonel, I have also asked some priests about it, and they said they agree with that. Kaya sabi ko sa kanya, kung pwede ho, pag kami medyo malakas pa naman, kamang mga pare, huwag ilagay ka agad sa welcome house o sa bahay pare. Recently I heard that the Cardinal is planning to make that old seminary building of the Our Lady of Guadalupe Minor Seminary into a retirement house, no? Instead of, I think, the welcome house in Santa saan ang tawag na lugar? Near how do you call that place now?
Sampaloc
area, no?
Yes.
Sampaloc area pa yon, Sampaloc area pa, no? So I said, I would suggest that you make na lang the priest, if he still is strong and willing, to be attached to a parish so that he somehow can help, no? At least giving the sacraments, no? Like confession, communion, etc. That if he still is strong, maybe even anointing of the sick. So I think the Cardinal is open to the idea when I talk to him about it. So that is what I'm waiting for, that from hopefully that becomes some kind of policy of the Archdiocese of Manila, that once a priest reaches the age of retirement, if he is still able to work somehow, imagine if you have been a pastor for, or you have been working for 50 years and suddenly you do not do anything, the more I think the person will become weak. But if he is doing something, he will be a bit strong, no? And I think the Cardinal is open to that idea. We will know when finally he will make the announcement of what He will do with us who are the older priests.
Thank you, Monsignor. Ibig sabihin talagang intellectually active ba talagang itong si Monsignor Bert? Kasi talagang ang projection niya no, ay lalagpasan pa yung retirement age ng mga pare, kaya dapat living an active life pa rin. Maraming salamat. At din naman, Erwin, for my last question. Erwin, ano ba ang mensahe mo para sa mga viewers natin na nagkakaedad na hindi naman sila mga pare, kaya wala silang Nurse Erwin na katulad mo. Pero ano yung maia-advise mo sa kanila na ngayon unti-unti nilang hinaharap ang kanilang pagtanda, minsan panghihina, and eventually ang pagkakasakit?
My advice for them is to just embrace the changes of being an older adult and enjoy life and just be positive in all the changes that may arise in the health.
Salamat, Erwin. Maraming salamat. Ang pasasalamat na yan ay hindi lang para sa iyong mensahe at ang iyong mga binigay na inspirasyon sa ating viewers na mga tumatanda na, pati na ng kanilang pamilya. Kung hindi, salamat. Pagkat nandyan ka para alagaan ang mga dating nag-aalaga sa kaluluwa ng sambayanan ng Diyos. At Monsignor, for our final discussion, hindi na siya discussion kung hindi, panalangin mo, Monsignor, ang ating mga senior citizens na sumusubaybay sa atin bilang pagtatapos ng ating episode ngayong Mayo.
Okay. Sa ngalang Ama at ng Anak at ng Espiritu Santo,
Amen.
Amang mapagmahal, makapangyarihan at maunawain, sana'y gabayan mo kami lahat, lalo na kami nakatatanda, upang patuloy kami nagtitiwala sa iyong pagmamahal, sa iyong mga biyaya, na manatili kaming matatag sa paglilingkod sa iyo sa anumang paraan, sang-ayon sa aming pakakayahan. Naway, sa tulong na mahal na biyanat ni San Jose, bigyan mo kami palagi ng biyaya na kinakailangan namin upang magkaroon ng kahulugan ang aming mga ginagawa sa buhay na ito. At kami ay mayroong inspirasyon na masumunod sa iyong kalooban, maglingkod sa iyo at maglingkod sa kapwa-tao. Salamat, Panginoon. Patuloy mo kong gabayan. At tayo magdasal ng sabay-sabay, luwalhati sa Ama, sa Anak, at sa Espiritu Santo, kapara noong una, ngayon at pagpasawalang hanggan. Amen. Sa ngalang Ama, at ng Anak, at ng Espiritu Santo.
Amen. At bilang pangwakas, salamat sa panalangin na yan, Monsignor. Pero bakit nga ba natin binabalikan na ating mga alaala? Pakinggan din natin ang mga pahayag ni Pope Francis. Ang sabi po niya, "But we must memorize our past and be a memorial of our own lives and our own journey. We must look back and remember and do it often. We may ask ourselves, at that time, God gave me this grace, and I replied in that way, I did this or that. He accompanied me. And in this way, we arrive at a new encounter, an encounter of gratitude." The words of Pope Francis. Maraming salamat.